I know, chasing that dough, hitting that road, getting that money, man. All I know, loading that foe, kicking down doors, getting that money, man. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is, does Showtime Shawn Porter deserve to be in the Boxing Hall of Fame? He announced his retirement at the end of his fight with Terrence Crawford last night. And if we believe he's going to stay retired, and if he remains retired, has Showtime Shawn Porter done enough to make it to the Hall of Fame? Trill Dollar Bill, what do you say to that?
Why not? Two-time world champion, fought the who's who. There's other guys that's in the Hall of Fame who haven't accomplished being a two-time world champion, and who haven't, fought the resume of a Shawn Porter, It's different now. The Hall of Fame is different now, but Shawn Porter, man, has fought everybody that he could possibly could fight, and he has some great wins. I look at Hall of Fame different, like certain things. I think that you have to have things like historical things, and being champion different weight classes and historical runs and stuff like that. But sometimes you get in there for just being a tough guy and not being afraid of challenges. So I can see a place for Shawn Porter. I can see a place for Shawn Porter in there just for being a great ambassador of the sport, never ducking anybody, always willing to fight everybody, being two-time world champion, being one of the elite guys out there for a while. I can see him getting in. I can definitely see Shawn getting in.
I'm assuming Kaden was saying me, but he's on mute. So, but yeah, so I was so I actually agree with Trill on this one. I think the rules are now changing, right? And so how I define if a person deserves to be in the Hall of Fame is this: if your name legitimizes other world champions, you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And so Shawn Porter has done that. When people know, like when you hear Shawn Porter, he's a pay-per-view star, former champion, and he fights the best. When you hear all of those things, it's like, yo, why not be in the Hall of Fame? And so Shawn Porter's loss last night legitimized TC. So to me, it's like, this is Hall of Fame status right here. Like TC needed this victory to make his claim in the welterweight division. So to me, it's like, you got to give Shawn Porter that accolade. Hopefully he does get it, but yeah, so definitely he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
TBE, baby.
I'm gonna disagree with my co-host right now. I feel Shawn is a great competitor, and I appreciate what he's done for the sport. When you talk about Hall of Fame, you look at the likes of Tyson, Ali, why am I drawing blanks when I say his name? Well, Lennox Lewis. You're looking at Mayweather. You're looking at the Klitschko's. You're just so many high caliber names, and Shawn Porter is a killer, no doubt. But I'm just saying, Hall of Fame is a space where those who accomplish so much get to be around those who accomplish so much. You get what I'm saying? Poetic. But Shawn Porter, if it was Golden Glove Hall of Fame, let him in.
Wow, you mad?
Amateur Hall of Fame, let him in. Olympic Hall of Fame, let him in. He deserves that.
The views and opinions of Ned the TVE do not reflect the Boxing Bros as a whole and all the other faces you see on the screen. Go ahead.
Yes, but I'm just saying the Hall of Fame that at the end of your professional career, you, it's just there's so much that comes into account when you're deciding that factor, and I feel Shawn hasn't accomplished what certain athletes or certain boxers who have accomplished that obtain. So that's all I gotta say.
Does Shawn Porter deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? The answer is, frankly, I don't know. I look at Diego Corrales; he's not in there yet. There are a number of fighters who aren't in there yet, and people act like Terrence Crawford is a surefire Hall of Famer, and if Diego's not, then I don't know how TC is. And there are a lot of other names who aren't in the Hall of Fame yet that I'm shocked by. And every time we get the list, I'm like, this person isn't in yet. So I do think it's going to be a long wait. It's going to have to be one of those years where they're looking for names and they don't have that many. Because as I look at some of the people who I know that are not in the Hall of Fame right now, I think it's going to be a tough road for Shawn Porter to get in. And you look at even his victories, his best victories against Yordenis Ugas, which I thought Ugas won. You look at his victory over Danny Garcia, which I thought Danny Garcia won. When you look at Shawn Porter's biggest fights, I mean, sadly, I believe he lost them all. He lost to Earl Spence. He lost to Kell Brook. He lost to Keith Thurman. I believe he lost to Danny Garcia. And I believe he lost to Yordenis Ugas. So for me, TC beating him is just, all right, you're the next one to do it. But he gave all these guys very close fights, and he even got the decision over some of them. Yordenis Ugas and Danny Garcia. So that gives him 2 quality wins over 2 quality opponents. So we're yet to see what Yordenis Ugas is going to do with his WBA championship. We're so fixated on Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford, but what happens if Ugas spoils it all for us? What if Ugas beats Spence? What if Ugas beats Crawford? Does that now elevate Shawn? I would say so. It would elevate Shawn. Ugas just beat Pacquiao. If Ugas beats one of those other guys, that victory looks really good for Porter. What if one of these guys takes Danny? What if Crawford takes Danny as a tune-up and Danny tunes him up? You know, that victory looks real good for Shawn Porter. So I think the jury's still out on Shawn Porter. I think he's on the outside looking in, meaning like he now has the root for the guys he's beaten to do more in the sport. And the more they accomplish, the better his victories over them will look. For me, I feel like although he's never really won the big one, as some would say, you can't mention this welterweight era without mentioning Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter is the common denominator for all the top fighters, with the exception of Manny Pacquiao. But he even sparred Pacquiao. So when you look at Shawn Porter, he's the measuring stick for all these guys. It's what we have. And so I feel like you can't mention this era without mentioning Shawn Porter. And that again goes to the criteria. Well, what's the criteria? My man Fernando Vargas isn't in the Hall of Fame, but Fernando Vargas, to me, his era was one of the best. Mm-hmm. He gave us exciting fights. So for me, you look at Fernando Vargas, you look at Showtime Shawn Porter, about the same kind of guy to me. Yeah. And I think Fernando deserves to get in at some point. But look how long it's been for Fernando. So I think when you talk about Shawn Porter, you're looking at like the Fernando Vargas type, where it's like his name's going to be there every year and people are going to look at it and be like, man, Porter. But is it going to be one of those years where his name is actually going to be selected? I don't know. But I think he's definitely going to be on the ballot. He may never get into the Hall of Fame, but his name is definitely going to be on the ballot. And for his sake, I hope he does get in at some point. So for me, it'll be a yes, but it'll be a long time. It won't be as quickly as the other guys.
Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe, and check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros.
You're welcome. You're all welcome.